Hello, this is Dr. Dan Kohinka. I want to congratulate you on having this opportunity to go through our Servant Leadership 2.0 training development program. I firmly believe that this can be a life-changing experience for you. The program and servant leadership in general has proven to improve people's lives personally and professionally, improve teams, improve relationships, improve organizations, improve communities, and beyond. It is something that, once again, I want to congratulate you on, and something that I hope you're excited about, and eventually will be proud that you have gone through this program. We will be discussing the activities that you'll be going through, but first, as we begin, I have a small activity that we are going to do, demonstrate the power of servant leadership. I will define servant leadership for you and explain just very briefly some of the history, which goes back actually thousands of years. I'll also explain to you the differences between manager and leader, differences between power and influence. We will discuss values and behaviors consistent with servant leadership, as well as the training and development program. Let's go ahead now and do an activity. I will kind of maybe rush through this a little bit, so you can always pause while pause this video while you're considering the answers. But what I'd like you to do is consider with just one word what a social problem is in America. So just one word. That may be hard to do, but just take a moment and consider, when you think about all the different challenges that America is facing, what is one social problem? Next, what is the cause of that problem? So just in one word, consider the cause of the problem that you just identified. Now in one word, consider what is the cure. So you should now have three words: a social problem in America, a cause of that social problem, and a cure for that social problem. In the years that I've been doing this activity, it always amazes me at the answers that I've seen. First off, what is, I guess, perhaps not so amazing is that some of the answers that are very common is everything from corrupt politicians and fatherless homes, obesity, welfare abuse, simple hate, harassment. There's diversity of thought and education, media dishonesty, hate crimes, religious discrimination, and beyond. Major social problems within America. And as people reported what they believe that the cause of these problems are, included things like greed and gluttony, laziness, lying, intolerance, power, arrogance, and so on. Now here is what is truly amazing, and that is the solutions to these problems are consistent with servant leadership to solve problems with greed, equity, equitable treatment, and so on. Moral decline, people being accountable, gluttony, stewardship of resources, arrogance and power, having humility, and so on. Even lying and deception, just simply being honest. Servant leadership is about core values and behaviors that are at the foundation of all types of leadership, all behaviors to some degree that ultimately lead to negative things. It's a foundation that if one embraces, they're not oftentimes not that difficult of concepts to understand, but can be challenging to apply. And we'll discuss specific examples here shortly. But when applied, research shows how effective these attributes of servant leadership can be. At the core of servant leadership is serving others. The basic focus is to serve others, put others first versus yourself. One of the greatest things about servant leadership is the principle or the point that anyone can be a servant leader, whether that be someone that's in a position of authority, a president, a CEO, a manager, a supervisor, a team leader, even a parent or a teacher, someone of that nature. They have a certain title. Or anybody else, that 12-year-old child on a playground that is eating lunch sees another child that has no lunch and they share their lunch with them. That is leadership. That's being a servant leadership. That's caring for others, and using that example, that's sharing, and so on. This is very powerful because consider in your lifetime, You may have never been told that anyone can be a leader, including yourself. You've perhaps been told that you need to have some sort of position. Again, a manager. You need to work your way up in order to become a leader. And although the term leader is oftentimes confused or misstated, and rather people mean supervisor or decision maker, leadership is something very different, and anyone can be a leader. They do not have to have that position, which is very empowering to know that, because one has to be given or earn, you could argue, but ultimately you have to be given a position of authority. Whether you're voted in, hired, or so on, you have to be given that position. Yet you do not have to do that knowing that anyone can be a servant leader. All you need to do is exhibit servant leadership behaviors. Servant leadership is not a new concept. It goes back thousands of years, including Lao Tzu. About 2,600 years ago, a Chinese philosopher that is credited for saying to walk behind them. In other words, to be a leader, you walk behind others, you put others first, you give them credit, you're humble, show humility. Also, Chanaka, an Indian polymath or very intelligent individual, a sage, if you will, expressed the importance of spirituality and knowledge, as well as happiness of the subjects, again, putting the followers first. And then, of course, Jesus of Nazareth 2,000 years ago preached selfless behavior and love, and behaviors like forgiveness and morality. Forgiveness is something that is very powerful. It is something that, like I mentioned earlier, that can lead to great things, yet it's a simple concept to understand. However, oftentimes challenging to actually put in practice, but once it can be a very life-changing, and I speak that from personal experience. So that's something that we'll discuss more. Now let's discuss briefly the difference between managers versus leaders. Managers are commonly associated with enforcing rules and routines. Research will show that they commonly will resist change for many different reasons. Managers, again, are people that are put in a position of power, and typically will have, of course, followers. Leaders, on the other hand, do not have to have followers. They oftentimes have imperfect information. They must improvise and improve, in other words, embrace change. So these are just some brief differences. Of course, leaders are about oftentimes vision and doing things as others do not do. So a quote that I once read, I do not recall who stated this, is it may have been Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, who's a wonderful author and someone that I learned tremendously from. Leaders experience greatness because they have vision and willingness to do what others do not do, and to know when to not do what others do. So think about that concept for a second. It is again a powerful concept, and definitely a definition of what a leader is. Power versus influence is also something interesting and applicable to servant leadership. Going back to the example of managers, for example, managers oftentimes think they need to exhibit power. They have to show their position of authority over others in order to make others do what needs to be done. Yet influence is something that is more about inspiring others, showing vision, being authentic, and others will follow you rather than you basically telling them what needs to be done. They will follow you. That's influence, and it is very powerful. Servant leadership evidence-based outcomes include, in other words, what does the research show? It includes positive outcomes that go on and on. They vary based on, for instance, using this example here, various employee-related outcomes. So when research has been done in the workplace, there is decreased burnout, positive commitment, more environmental awareness, innovative work behavior, intention to stay and not quit, Servant leadership leads to also proactive behaviors, pro-environmental behaviors, psychological well-being is increased, motivation to be a servant, turnover and tension, again, that's decreased, workplace spirituality is improved, work engagement is improved, less workplace deviance, and on and on. And that's just in the workplace. This applies to outside with various organizations, and of course, more specifically to teams and individuals, both in and out of work. The Servant Leadership 2.0 Training and Development Program is multifaceted. It not only includes validated assessment, so that way you can better understand your level of servant leadership, where you stand, and then perhaps later on how you've improved. It is also not just based on research, and research is used to validate the program, but there's also research that you will experience and see and learn about firsthand that supports the concepts that you will be addressed during the program. Many examples will be provided so you can learn, once again, firsthand how this information is being applied and what the positive outcomes are. And then you yourself will apply the various behaviors that are included in the core values of being a servant leader. The core values within the Servant Leadership 2.0 development program include selfless behavior, being authentic, kinship, embracing religious values, moral behavior, and being influential. And then within these 30 different behaviors that you will be provided very specific examples of how to apply these, so that way, as a behavior-based program, you will experience changes in behavior that ultimately will develop these values, and you will become a more effective servant leader. I want to thank you and once again congratulate you on the journey that you have ahead of you. I truly believe that that during this journey you're going to recognize the value of servant leadership. Others will see that in you as well. And again, thank you and get excited. I firmly believe that you will benefit from this program in many ways, in many more ways than you may think. Thank you.